on Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out, we are talking about good self-care. How well do you take care of yourself? Are you the first one to always support someone else and usually the last person to help yourself? Is there anything toxic in your life you're ready to release? Are you challenged when it comes to paying attention to yourself and tuning into what you need? Let's continue as we focus on self-love and self-care this month.
Ready to clear your clutter and share your gifts with the world? Every Tuesday at 1 p.m., join award-winning professional organizer, author, and certified life coach Julie Coraccio on Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out, as she teaches you how to navigate the waters to declutter your life. Julie Coraccio destroys the box and examines clutter in all areas: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic, relationships, health, finances, and more.
Self-care is so important, and I believe a huge part of self-love. If we love ourselves, we take care of ourselves. Many of us didn't have nurturing or self-care growing up or have it modeled to us. So don't beat yourself up or be embarrassed. I see a lot of my clients do that. When you know better, you do better, I believe Maya Angelou said. If you're new to good self-care, it may be a challenge. Be kind when you're talking to yourself. Be your own best friend. Be patient and be loving. See, another way to slip in good self-talk. It's never too late to learn how to love yourself and take better care of yourself. There are many ways to take better care of ourselves, so don't overwhelm with trying to do it all at once. Pick an area that you really think needs it or you're motivated to do. If you're still unsure, is there a trusted person you could ask that could give you constructive feedback? One of the greatest gifts I have are friends that are honest with me in a loving way. Write it down in your calendar if you have to. If you've listened to the podcast, you know, as I'm sitting here shooting this, I have 2 huge whiteboards in my office. I would be lost without them. So consider making a daily or weekly important for self-care. With anything, if you write it down, you're more likely to do it. So for instance, with my big white erase boards, I brought those up because usually I have a to-do list. And how I do my to-do list is I have all my work that needs to be done is in the main column. I love legal pads and use those. And to the right is anything personal that needs to be done. So for instance, I had to go to the bank this morning. I did ironing last night. I write all my chores on the side. With this specific breathing exercise, I'm doing a women's group and it's kind of a reading, it's an interactive group. And so we have a very specific breathing exercise. And my coach said, I want you to do it more often, do it 4 times a week. Now, as we get older, we tend to forget things, and so I have to write it down. Now, I bring up the whiteboards because this was very purposeful. Instead of writing it as a to-do, because if it's on the list, it can sometimes feel like a chore. I hate ironing. I'm horrible at ironing. I'm working on being better about that and finding the zen in it, but right now I'm not there. I was concerned that if I wrote breathing exercise on my to-do list, that it would start to feel like a chore. If it starts to feel like a chore, it's not really self-care as far as I'm concerned, and you're kind of defeating the purpose. A couple things I'd like you to think about in your spectacular self-care. Be mindful about balance. You're not going to be able to honor all of these areas all the time in your life, so don't put more pressure on yourself to achieve that. I'd encourage you to look at your life overall to see how well you take care of yourself. Moderation is also important. If you're obsessive in one area, other areas may suffer, and obsessing in general isn't really good. Balance and moderation are good measures. Remember, life's fluid and not static, so maybe some weeks you get 5 or 6 of those kick-butt exercise sessions in, and maybe some weeks you're doing really well when you can get 2 or 3 in. Here are some areas to look for self-improving care, but don't make this a final list. There are numerous ways to treat ourselves. Health. Do you eat healthy foods most of the time, or are you a junk food junkie? Do you eat mindfully or rush through your meals? Are you strict and very structured with your eating? Are you able to enjoy food? One of the reasons I love going to Italy is they love to eat. You know, they make it over a couple hours. It's this fun, engaging experience. And I want to share a story of a friend who is, I would call obsessive about eating organic. It is, I think when you're obsessed with anything, it's not healthy. And so people could say, well, you know, Julie, eating organic is the best thing that you can do. Well, okay, but when it makes your life, I can only go to these restaurants, I can only have this food. When you start impinging your lifestyle on others, I'd say it's not fun any longer. And I'd like to share a funny story. If you haven't listened to my interview with Sybil Rhodes. Sybil is from Louisiana and like a second mother to me. And we did an interview and I put it on, I believe, last December. So December 2015. And I'll never forget, I was down in Louisiana visiting her. And Sybil, there are two people I have in my life. Sybil, unfortunately, has passed, but Sybil and my nephew Max, who is 10. And I have never met anyone like these two who simply loves being alive and has grabbed life and finds excitement and joy in everything. And I'm very fortunate to have had Sybil and to have Max in my life. And so we were down, I was visiting her in Louisiana, and I struggle with Diet Coke. I think that's the stuff, I call it Diet Crack. I think it's evil. And I switched to Dr. Zevia, which was made with stevia. Now, this is, again, why sometimes, you have to try things out. And when I work with clients, we have to sometimes make adjustments. I learned that stevia was making me insulin. It was messing with my insulin, and I wasn't able to lose weight. And I thought, I'm doing really well, and figured out that I don't do well with stevia. So, quote, stevia is quote unquote healthy. So it doesn't matter what I say, do your research, be informed. And Sybil said to me at some point, and I'll bring this up later because it's a point I want to drive home. She said, Julie, at my funeral, are they going to say she shouldn't have had that Diet Coke? And it just kind of put it in perspective. Like, if you want to have the Diet Coke, have it. Don't get so obsessive. And if you're eating well most of the time, then you're doing okay. Another area to look at is how is your sleeping? The more I read and research is how fundamental sleep is to everything. If you're not getting in those 7 or 8 hours a night, that's an area you might want to consider. I did an episode, number 134, back in September on how to get a good night's sleep, so you might want to check that out. How about exercising? Do you exercise on a regular basis? If it seems like a chore, find out something that will get you going. Now, this is a funny thing. I do rowing in the morning usually, and my goal is to do 10,000 meters. I'm working up each day. I add a little more, and hopefully by, let's say fall, I'll be up to 10,000 meters because that's going to take me probably an hour to do. And my coach did this, and she was so funny talking about this. I'm like, I'm going to try this. So I do fake jump roping, like and doing all these fancy moves. Now, on days when I'm working with clients and organizing, I'm getting physical and moving. But on days like today, when I'm doing administrative stuff, I'm shooting this podcast, I'm in front of a computer, I try to get out and get moving. If I can't get a full workout in that day, then I'll go and fake jump rope for 5 or 10 minutes. It breaks it up, it gets me off the desk, and it's fun. Is it a full workout? No, but at least I'm doing and moving something. So remember, you're not going to, if you can't get those 5 or 6 in, try for those 2 to 3 days or full workout. And if you're at least moving, more I read, spend 15 minutes to half an hour walking, that makes a difference. Nature is a category I'm going to share here. I love to hike. One of the things I absolutely adore is my husband and I hike weekly. We're fortunate in Raleigh. There's a big park called Umstead, and you can access from different areas. And that's part of our routine. I feel it is good for both of us. We're exercising, we're having great conversation, we're connecting. I take Antonio, one of our cats, likes to go outside. So every day I'm walking him for an hour. So I am getting out there and being in nature in some shape or form. I know when I feel off balance, I'm going to go hug a tree. There's something that helps ground me, that helps reset me. And I'd encourage you, do the benefits, find the benefits in research of being in nature. For me, it brings me more joy and peace. It calms me, it resets me, but I'd encourage you to consider nature as a part of a self-care category.
Paid late fees because you can't find your bills? Child miss out on a field trip because of a lost permission slip? Missing out on reimbursements because you can't find your receipts? Go to reawakenyourbrilliance.com to learn how Julie Coraccio can assist you.
Mindfulness. You knew this was going to happen. Meditate, any mindful practice, simply taking the time to be fully in the moment of whatever you're doing. How many times do you go out to dinner and have your face in your cell phone, checking your email? Or I was watching video on Facebook, and it was kind of cool. They were showing the lava going into the ocean and creating land, but the people were all filming. And I'm laughing, this guy's in the back, and you see all these people looking through their camera or their phone, and they weren't in the moment enjoying that. Tai Chi, something like yoga that engages the physical and the mental, are a really great way to be mindful. I've mentioned before, mowing grass. is a way that is very meditative to me. I don't mind. Most people say, oh, have your husband do it. I'm like, you know what? I actually I hate edging and I'm horrible at it, but I love to mow the lawn because for whatever reason, I can do a brain dump. I can relax. It's a very mindful way for me and it brings me peace. So I took a survey on Facebook of friends and, share ways that you have good self-care. And someone shared, believing that everything is always working out for you. And I would also add to that, finding the golden nugget. And what I mean by that, if you have something happen to you that isn't great, what's the good? What's the good that you can find, that golden nugget? I had a horrible, last job I worked in was horrible. It was the worst job I'd ever had, and I've been working since I was 14. However, I am grateful for them every single day because if they hadn't have treated me so badly, I don't know if I would have had the courage to go and start my own business. And starting my own business, I could talk for hours about how that's helped me grow as a woman and help change my life. So that's my golden nugget from that. Your relationships. This is really important. They talk about we become who we're hanging out with. So how is your close-knit tribe, the people that you're hanging out with? Are you able to say no when you need to? Does your inner circle support you? Do you have healthy boundaries? Is there give and take? Are you doing what feels right to you or is what is within integrity? Is there anyone toxic that it might be time to release? I did a few episodes on relationships, how to say no. If you need a little more guided support, check them out. They're always there. They're never going away. But that's in an area that I would encourage you to check out. How about your body? Do you pamper yourself? And this doesn't have to mean going to a big fancy spa. Having someone brush my hair feels heavenly to me. Sybil used to brush my hair all the time. I love that. I am a huge fan of Altitude. They're always having a sale. They're always having a coupon. So if you don't want to spend a lot of money, and they have a wide range. If you want something inexpensive, they have that, or they have really expensive products. When I was doing gifts for clients, I did a self-care package for one of my clients because I'm like, I want you this year to focus on you. You're always giving. So anyway, I had a lot of fun putting that package together. And I ended up buying a couple things for myself because I try to buy consumables. I found this lovely stuff, Pacifica, which is vegan. It has this great leave-in conditioner, which is my new favorite thing now because I always haven't been a fan of conditioners. And being in the South, you don't need it 6 months out of the year. Anyway, leave-in conditioner is my new favorite thing. And I want you to think about how again, you don't have to go to the spa, but how are you when you put your face cream on? Are you gently, lovingly putting it on your face? Are you slapping it on and not thinking about it? Can you be more mindful, create a ritual around it? We can find a rich experience in anything that we do. How's your spirit? Your spirituality or religion might be a word that you're more comfortable with. As you all know, if you've listened regularly, I see a coach once a month, and there are times I'm like, oh, I don't want to see my coach today. And I drag myself there because I know I'm going to feel better afterwards, and it has helped me professionally as well as personally because they both spill into each other. I also do 2 women's groups with my coach. One is kind of an interactive one, and one's a book club. And we're starting up again this month, so I'm really excited about that. Those are people that I can be myself. I can act weird or strange or share my fears, and I'm supported. I'm not mocked. I'm not laughed at. What about your life's purpose? Are you living in joy? Are you happy? What needs to feed your spirit? What makes you feel alive? What would support you in that? And then simple basic things that I put in this category. You can love more, you can be more kind, and you can have more gratitude.
Anxious, exhausted, stressed out, losing your mind, ready to get your life back? Go to reawakenyourbrilliance.com to learn how Julie Coraccio can support you.
I don't know what category to put this into, but one change that I've made into my life is I don't listen to mainstream media and network news anymore, very rarely. Something's happened, I'm going to find out about it on Facebook. Trust me, I'm not worried about that. And I think when we focus on that, when we focus on all the negativity, I don't think that that's healthy for us, and it just adds to it. Remember, everything's energy. So if you're watching something, you're getting upset and you're getting stressed out and you're worrying, oh my gosh, are we going to have a war? Is this going to da-da-da-da-da? And we kind of get on that monkey mind cycle that's not healthy. There is a network called Good News Network. They have a Facebook page. I love that because that's all they report on, good news from around the world. And it reminds me especially in some challenging times. You know what? There are good people out there. There's good happening in our world every single day. So I made a conscious choice to listen to things like the Good News Network. Fun. This is the category I struggle the most with. And I think my challenge was, and sometimes still is that I feel I have a different definition of fun from people. For instance, my husband and I aren't big drinkers. We're not like in a go out and party. That's just not who we are. It's who we are when we met. And still a lot of people, that's their idea of fun. And that's okay. There's no judgment in there. I just think that sometimes, at least in where I've been, that's what fun is all about. So I had to say, okay, what is fun for me? We love to play games. We play games almost daily. Card games, we have board games. We enjoy that a lot. Although I have to admit, I find it more fun when I win. We also hike weekly. I consider hiking fun. Reading a book makes me happy, a good book, and brings me joy. And if you've read a really awesome book, please send me the title, because I'm always looking. I keep a running list of things I'd like to read. I enjoy cooking. I'm learning more with no sugar, with paleo, experimenting, and most of the time that worked out pretty well. So that's something that I enjoy doing. Having an amazing conversation. You know, I do the interview, try to do an interview once a month with a podcast, because I get so uplifted when I have a wonderful conversation with someone. So I'm going to encourage you, come up with what you consider fun. Don't be bound by what anyone else's definition is, but definitely get some fun in there. Finally, just being in joy. I was doing an online group, and the moderator was talking about people who don't worry about what other people say or don't bother them. They have the glass of wine, they eat the piece of chocolate cake. They're not like, oh my gosh, I ate a piece of cake, I'm going to gain 5 pounds, and suck out of the joy of that. You know, I mentioned Sybil earlier. Sybil and my nephew Max, who was 10, I am really blessed. I was blessed to have Sybil a large part of my life, because I met her when I was 18 and was in touch with her until she passed. And my nephew Max came out of the womb ready to enjoy life. I haven't met those two. I'm so fortunate to have, because they love life. They find the joy. They engage. They are just so happy to be alive. And it's really amazing being around those people. So find the joy. Eat the piece of cake if you want to. You know, you'll get back on track tomorrow. Do what you choose to do. Don't disregard what others think, and don't feel the guilt. Don't feel the guilt of having the slice of cake and that you're doing something wrong. If you want to do it and it brings you joy, go for it. I'd also like you to think about if you have any unhealthy or destructive habits like shopping. Hey, it's a podcast about clutter. I had to bring it up. So how are your shopping habits? Do you shop for what you actually need or to fill a void? It can also be eating too much. You know, I've talked about emotional eating, drinking too much, not talking kindly to yourself. So kind of do a reverse with all the categories I mentioned and say, well, is there something out of balance here? I know this is an unhealthy habit that I could improve. I'd like to leave you before the take actions with this final thought that a friend shared on Facebook when I was doing this little survey. Things I used to desire from other people, I'm giving to myself. I love that. That's such sage advice. You find yourself looking for others to fill something. What can you do for yourself? Take actions from today's podcast. Pick the areas where you would like to increase better self-care. I suggest no more than 2 or 3 so you don't become overwhelmed. Commit to practicing daily acts of good self-care in the areas you choose. Schedule or write down if you need to. Decide if there is an unhealthy habit you could let go of or work to improve. When you find yourself looking for others to fill a need, ask how you can take care of yourself. In our final episode for February, we are going to talk about honoring our truth. Go out, clear the clutter to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire.
Ready to live a more joyful and fulfilling life? Sign up for our newsletter at reawakenyourbrilliance.com and receive a free copy of 10 Steps to Clearing Clutter Inside and Out. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out. See you next Tuesday at 1 p.m.